It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, if you look on that Sharp Interactive board, you're going to see 4 logos: Epson, Brother, Riso, Kyocera. Above those logos, it says it's time to fight to win. A disruption is a war against status quo. Wars, you got to fight them to win them. Otherwise, you get killed, right? Ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to disrupt the A3 business laser with ink, you better start fighting. Because this tiptoeing through the daisies that you're all doing isn't going to win the war. And I want to share my thoughts on this because I believe there's a huge opportunity to disrupt business laser print. And unfortunately, you're allowing the industry, those dealers, to control the narrative. You're bringing in toner heads, as I say, and you're allowing them to go out in the marketplace and help you disrupt it with your ink technology. And as soon as they run into any kind of objections, they're too pacifying to those objections instead of fighting for them. And so today I'm going to teach you all how to fight a little bit to handle these objections that you're getting from the status quo. Let's start with our friends over there at Epson. Epson toner heads, A3 approach. And you don't have a MIF, Epson. This is a problem for you. You don't have a MIF of business print. You know, you're putting some machines out there and you're getting rid of some light production and people like your stuff. They're excited about it because I hear it in the marketplace. But you're not aggressively fighting to replace the Rico main line for that dealer. Why not? You should go fight to destroy the Ricos, the Konica Minoltas, all those laser players. Get rid of them. I'm Epson. We want to replace laser print in the businesses with ink. Here's what happens. You go to the BTA, you set up your table, you're all excited, dealer walks up to you. Hey, have you ever thought about putting Epson in your portfolio? Well, you know, we don't really know if we're going to do that. 20 years ago, we sold some ink to a real estate office. They printed off some brochures. They stuck them in that little box out in the front lawn, and guess what happened? Well, they all got wet. It ruined them, and it was a big mess. And our technicians say they tell me all the time, ink sucks. I mean, ink's not really what we want to do. Ink sucks. And so what does Epson do when they hear this? What do all you folks do? I'll tell you what you do. Oh, well, you know, you don't have to sell them in the real estate office. But I will tell you that, you know, the technology's gotten a lot better over the last 20 years. But look, we don't want to replace all your mainline machines. We just want to, you know, give you an option for ink. You know what you should tell them? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're going to base a business decision on something that happened 20 years ago? Come on, man. You're going to allow your technicians to drive the bus of your business? Are you kidding me? You realize most of your technicians are going to retire pretty soon. The average age in the industry is 59. What if when they quit or retire, you didn't have to replace them? Here's what I want to help you do, Mr. or Mrs. Dealer. I want to wipe out your Rico business print, your main line. I want to come in there, and if you'll give me 40% of that business over the next 3 years, here's what I'll do for you. I'll make it well worth your while. Let's go to war against your mainline Rico. We're ready to fight. They don't ever say stuff like that. They live in this passive world. You got these folks that are running around looking for people that were born in the 50s and 60s. Hey, come help us because you know all these people in the market and you'll be able to help us get in these dealers. Who cares how old these people are and how many people they know? If you show up at the account and they can't disrupt it, they just know people, but they don't know how to disrupt anything, what's that going to help you? All right, we'll have a great dinner. We'll talk about the future, stuff we're never going to do, but we'll all have fun. You need to bring people in there that are willing to disrupt. And dealers will respect you if you just tell them the truth. If you come up with a plan that makes sense. What dealer in their right mind wouldn't have a conversation with any one of you folks if you went in there seriously and you said, we want to look at your MIF together. If you'll give us X percentage of that MIF over this period of time, here's what we will do for you. We will make it so worth your while. But no, what do? They hire these account managers. They spend all this money going to BTA meetings and all these other venues where the same people always go. They talk about the same old crap, but they're not really driving any initiatives to really force change. What if you stopped doing all of that? You took all the money you spend to do all of that, and you gave that to dealers in the marketplace to drive a behavior to completely disrupt a mainline OEM. Can you imagine how powerful that would be? And I guarantee you this, folks, you could find the right dealer that would do it. You just got to be willing to ask. You got to be willing to fight. You can't just do this thing like you're tiptoeing through the daisies and hope it all works out. Let's look at Brother. Brother, you got a Little League approach, and I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just the reality. Brother's done a fantastic job in that Soho market. They really have. They want to get into this business print. But I got to tell you, brother, you're going to have to fight like you've never fought before. And you will have an uphill battle just like Epson. You don't have a myth in the business print arena. You got a myth in the Soho arena. So in the Soho arena, you could probably switch a lot of that laser to ink pretty easy. But when you move up into that business category, you're going to have a hard time. Unless you're willing to fight. Like I just shared Epson's directions. Are you willing to take the battle to the field? Riso, I'm going to be honest with you. You're not going to make it. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that as a reality. But there is a place for you, and I'm going to share that in a second. But think about your business. You're probably going to come in at about $350 million this year, maybe. We'll see where those numbers land. But you're small. You're a small company. You're not going to be able to go into the marketplace and replace business laser with your business ink. You got some nice machines. It'd be awesome if you could do it. The problem is, you're not big enough to have the fight. When I look at Epson and Brother, they got a lot of money. They could really get aggressive and fight. And the reality of it is, if they do get aggressive and fight, and they start taking this business print, converting it from business laser to business ink machines, they're going to also develop equipment that can come in and take away some of the verticals that you do so well in. And so you're really in a pickle here because you're in a battle, but you really don't have the army. And you're going to have to form an alliance with someone that has the army. And I'll tell you who that is. It's our friends at Kyocera. Riso, Kyocera just invested $10 billion in the chip business. They're building new factories in Japan. They have a lot of money and they make a lot of profit. In all reality, they could take you to dinner and write you a check at the end of the dinner, buy your whole company. And the two of you together could do some pretty amazing things. You would give Kyocera some more inkjet technology that's downstream. And together with the resources around ink, you could pretty much wipe these other players off the map. You know why? Because Kyocera has the largest infield MIF of all of them. The largest infield MIF. I mean, there's more machines in businesses that are Kyocera than any of these other players. That's a fact. And so if Kyocera had this ink technology, what would they be able to do? They would be able to go into the marketplace and replace their own MIF, and they could get really aggressive with the dealers. They know what these dealers are selling. They know all of it because they're the OEM for the dealer. The relationship they could build with these dealers around ink is a real advantage. The question is Kyocera willing to fight? Are they willing to get aggressive? Well, folks, I'm going to share something that's going on with Kyocera in a minute. But before I do that, I want to talk about diversification. I recently read an article. Folks, I was kind of depressed when I read this. It was like an interview with someone at Epson. And they're talking about how Epson and ink is a diversification. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a disruption. And there's a damn difference. Okay? Inkjet is not a diversification. It's a printer MFP that uses a different type of supply. Ladies and gentlemen, why are we so confused by this? Let me give you the definition. Diversification is a growth strategy that involves entering into a new market or industry, one that your business doesn't currently operate in, while also creating a new product for that new market. Taking a laser machine and replacing it with an ink machine is not a diversification. It's a disruption. If you stop calling it a damn diversification and you define it what it really is, a disruption, then you would have behaviors to disrupt. And there are different behaviors involved there. Go disrupt the marketplace. A diversification, man, that takes a lot of work. You got to bring in all different human capital. You got all different processes involved. You're going from print to IT. That's complicated stuff. You're making this way too complicated. Inkjet replacing laser processes in businesses is a disruption. It's just a disruption. That's all it is. But if you don't call it a disruption, how in the hell are you going to go into the market and disrupt it? You can't even define it right. Let me talk about some more so-called diversifications that drive me out of my mind. And I did a video on this one time, made fun of it. Managed print services is not a diversification. It is your damn job, if you're in the business, to sell print equipment that you supply and service. Isn't everything you do around print, aren't you managing print? What is this fantasy that we're going to reclassify a contract, call it managed print, and then say we diversified our business. It's absurdity at best. Production print is not a diversification. Okay? You know what it is? It's a profitless outcome for most. I mean, it does it take a solid business plan? Does it take a real understanding of that product? Yes. But it's still, what is it? It's putting information on paper. It's not a diversification. A diversification replaces declining revenue, declining profits. A business diversifies so they can protect themselves against declines. Okay? And during a decline in any industry, guess what it's ripe for? A major disruption to take advantage of the decline in a way that really freaks people out and disrupts them. What better way to do that than to challenge? Go into a dealer with your inkjet technology and tell them to replace Riso or Konica or one of these mainline OEMs with all the business laser that's in the marketplace. Could you imagine? If you really had a plan to do that, I think it'd be exciting as hell, folks. It would be a war worth fighting. So let me just refresh everybody's memory here. Ink is a disruption, not a diversification. And because it's a disruption, get some people that you can put on the front lines of the battle that can fight. Not a bunch of people that are going to only fight up to a certain objection. And then they're going to coil and they're going to say, oh, I don't want to cause too much disruption because the dealers will get mad. I can't do that. Go fight. Go fight for relevance, folks, because you're going to win and the dealers are going to get excited. Y'all believe this inkjet technology works great, don't you? Y'all believe that there's something here. Why don't you fight for it? Yeah, there should be, I would have already liked to seen Epson take out a mainline OEM at a major dealership. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that story? XYZ company just got rid of all their Riso business. They're going to get rid of it by the year 2025. They're moving to all ink. Boy, wouldn't that be exciting? Could you imagine that disruption in the marketplace? Oh man, you'd excite the salespeople, the technicians, the dealer owner, everybody be out there to win a war against overspeccing and overselling A3 and laser. God, it would be exciting. Kyocera made a big investment in inkjet technology, bought a company out of France. Kyocera, I got to tell you this. Okay? Here's the reality. You got to fight, and if you fight harder than everybody else, you're going to win. Because you have the myth. You understand the BTA space. You understand how to deal with those business customers better than any of those other folks. And you could literally wipe them off the map if you're willing to fight. But you got to fight. You got to take that Task Alpha 15,000C technology, you got to push it to your other machines. You got to take whatever technology you bought over there in France and you got to get that stuff together and go in the marketplace and fight. You got to write Riso a check and buy them and bring them into the portfolio and then go into the marketplace and fight like you've never fought before. Take advantage of this declining marketplace and you, in fact, will win. You are in the position to win. Now, that could challenge the rest of them to fight a little harder because I think if the rest of them paid attention to today's episode, they're going to realize that I'm right and that the only way we're going to disrupt the marketplace is to first define it as a disruption. And second, bring in the right people that know how to fight to win a war. Not a bunch of people that want to tiptoe through the daisies. Because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.